Destroy is as deep as the desire to create. When he was a kid in Virginia, he had a rogue history teacher who told his class that the reason humans are the only species that kills its own kind was because of some evil Egyptian poison in the apple that Eve gave Adam. Word got out, and the teacher was fired. Tony's science teacher told his students that wasn't true. He wasn't going to touch Adam and Eve, but he said that many animals are as bad or worse than humans when it comes to brutalizing their own kind. Lions, bears, primates, kangaroos, meerkats. I said, probably we're the only species that makes money from killing one another. Exactly, said Tony. Precisely. That's our meerkat nature. So it will happen again. Stronger countries invading weaker countries, larger countries swallowing smaller ones, as long as there's a profit to be made, as long as it inflates some psycho dictator's ego. But we shouldn't be afraid, because we're going to win. The war in Vietnam will end. Things are going to change. For the better, I said. For the better, said Tony. It was a chilly, rainy winter, maybe no colder or wetter than any San Francisco winter, but it seemed that way to me. I'd thought that California was warm year-round. The weather felt like a personal insult. I'd moved out west wearing flip-flops, and I refused to admit my mistake and buy a pair of shoes. My feet were always freezing. The heater in Tony's car barely functioned, and dampness seeped up through a hole in the floor. We rode with the window shut. The car smelled like cigarette smoke, like the wet dog that neither of us had, like woolen coats in a grade school cloakroom. As we headed west through outer Sunset and circling back along the avenues of outer Richmond, bright streaks of neon signage dripped down the windshield onto the glistening streets. I had no idea where we were going or where we would end up. I liked not knowing, not caring, not having to decide. I was 26. I liked feeling free, alive, and on edge, even a little afraid. So what if my feet were cold? They wouldn't be cold forever. I wanted to feel like an outlaw. So did everyone I knew. Bonnie and Clyde were our Romeo and Juliet. I still have a photograph of the leaders of the Barrow Gang, the Depression-era bank robber lovebirds. In heels and a long dark dress with a knitted top, Bonnie pokes a rifle and one finger into Clyde's chest, his immaculate white shirt. Slightly slumped, his hat pushed back, Clyde is looking at her, half amused, half besotted. Played by Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty in the 1967 film, the couple couldn't have been more beautiful or languidly stylish. They were our outlaw, lover, superstars, hotter than Seaberg and Belmondo. That Clyde was apparently impotent made their love all the more tragic, chaste, and operatic. I can still see their mustard-colored 1934 sedan death car bucking and jumping as the hail of bullets pierced it or bounced off. I didn't want that, obviously, but I wanted the rush. I had just recovered from 2 bouts of what the early desert saints called the pain of the distance from God. The fogginess, the loneliness, the lack of direction or purpose. They called it spiritual aridity, the inability to be touched or consoled by prayer. Though I didn't believe in God, I understood what they meant. I was better now, or mostly. I wanted to stay that way. I wanted to feel the thrill of not knowing or caring where I was going or what I was supposed to be doing. The dreamlike unreality of those high-speed drives was nerve-wracking but weirdly relaxing. Nothing was expected of me. I didn't have to think. I hardly had to speak. All I had to do was listen. From 1972 until 1975, I lived for months at a time in San Francisco. There was no reason for me to be in California except that I liked it there, and because it was across a continent.